So Sven, I know you've been doing a short course on youth studies. So I'd like to know if your participation in this short course has already influenced your work as a youth worker in Rota Jovem, the place where you work.
Well, I think it it influences the way I work in Rota. Maybe not yet on a direct way. It's not yet implemented, but I think one important part is that it changed my perspectives and my thoughts on certain issues. That's, for instance, for example, we have this whole issue in Rota Jovem about youngsters sometimes not participating in the activities that we do. It's difficult to find people who commit themselves on a long perspective. And for example, one of the concepts that we got to know in the short course is this whole concept of new youth. With the changing situation of youth as a process to youth as a condition, and which implications this has on young people today. And all this information that I acquired through this new concept and the thoughts that I had around it are influencing the way I see the things we do here in Rota Jovem, and why maybe some things don't work out the way we expected or wanted to work out. So I think on the level of consciousness about what is behind some practical situations that appear in my work, I think there's a thought process that has started, and of course it's very short after the course, or it's actually still in the course. The implementation of these different thoughts will take a bit longer to implement in practice.
And your personal views or yourself, did it have any impact? Was there, can you identify any change or any move?
Well, on a personal level, I think the whole idea of this course created an interest or a bigger interest of me, also to not just work and do things with young people on a practical level, but as a person it made me more curious about, for example, investigation and what is going on in youth research. Yeah, these kind of things, it impacted me on a personal level. I'm more interested in finding out things also on academical, from an academical perspective. So while before I quickly skipped any texts or any information about that as this is maybe not so useful for my work because it's not practical, I will look into it and try and find out, okay, how can I use this and how does this work? But this is a professional question on your question about what it did personally to me. So I don't know what is the impact of the course on a personal level so much. I think it maybe confirmed some of the things I already knew about me. I don't think it really brought new perspectives on me or a change of behavior in my personal life.
So it's more a confirmation.
Yeah. I think some of the things that I already knew about me, also through my work as a youth worker and the way I am with people. Often in youth work we get feedback sessions and people give their opinions about how you acted in certain situations. And I think many of these things, for the good and for the bad, were confirmed through my participation also in the short course.
Okay. And this was an international short course, so there were other participants from other countries and maybe other associations and other contexts. How was the sharing between the different countries, organizations, types of worker?
For me, the intercultural aspect of the whole course was not so much that people come from different countries, since this is a situation with which I deal on a regular basis. The whole intercultural experience for me was the meeting between people who come from a youth practice background, a youth policy background, and a youth research background. And there I felt throughout the course, from the the online parts to the residential seminar in Budapest, I really felt big cultural differences in how we perceive things, and what we see is important, and what we mention and what we don't mention. And very often the intercultural experience for me is that, hey, but I'm seeing all these things through my youth workers' perspective. While this is one perspective on reality, but there's two other actors here, at least two actors, who see things from their perspective. And well, there were some confrontations in between these different groups, and that made me really aware of the fact that I'm really seeing the world, my youth work world, through my youth worker glasses. And I think that was a very important intercultural learning for me that I realized through the short course.
And what about the other parts? The people more connected with youth policies and the research. Do you think they also learned something from your participation in this course, or maybe the large group of youth workers?
Well, I hope so, obviously, no? No, I think I've got some feedback from several people that especially from some participants who were youth researchers, that they valued the practical things that I could bring or that I brought to the course, because many of them, they are not involved with young people on a daily basis, and they have ideas about something, and I sometimes could confirm or not confirm what they were saying. So I think yeah, for the other groups, I think I brought something, and I think they learned something from, especially on the practical level of how things work in my reality, because of course I cannot speak for all the realities around.
And between your own little area, youth work, did you notice differences between the questions you have in your daily work, or the problems, the challenges, and the ones that other people in other youth organizations find? Was there the chance to share this, or it was another level?
There was a chance to share this, but in my perspective, or from what I felt, is that the realities and the challenges and the questions that we deal with, they seem to be quite similar amongst the youth workers. So maybe we also didn't go sufficiently in depth to go to all these different aspects of the work we do, but in the conversation that we had, these differences within the youth workers group, they didn't appear so much. It was quite smooth going.
Okay, but there was a two-way process of change, so you learned with the theory, and the theory learned with the practice.
That's what I hope, yes.
Probably
so,
both
yes.
are more aware of these complementary areas. And before you went to this course, and when you applied, you had certain expectations, something you were expecting to get from the course. Would you say these were achieved, or something new came you're not expecting, or they are still to be fulfilled?
Well, I think the short course, it's a short course. Obviously, it's a very limited amount of time with a very limited number of activities and possibilities. So my expectations were partly realized. I think all my expectations that I had, they have taken a step further towards achieving them. I think none of them has actually reached somewhere, but then in this whole concept of lifelong learning,
in the way,
where is the final end? It's difficult to put it. One of my main motivations and expectations why I participated in this course was to get a more theoretical background on the practical things I'm doing in my youth work. And I think I've gotten a lot of useful new information. I think even too much in a short term to actually process everything on a deeper level. But there are some theoretical concepts that I possess now, or that I know, or that I feel connected with, or that I have some more experience with, that I gained there, that are really valuable to me. So in that aspect, I think it really helped me getting a more theoretical background in youth work than I had before. I think on the level of exchange between the three different actors, also I feel it's partly realized mainly in the connection between youth worker and youth researcher, as we were the two biggest groups I felt that were present there. Many of the youth policy representatives, they were maybe some intermittent phase where they were half youth worker, half policy maker. So maybe there I didn't really achieve to get this connection, but I think especially understanding the youth research reality better than before, that certainly happens through the short course. Yeah, in my expectations part, I had put this movie as an expectation where you saw that if you blindfold somebody and you let him run or let her run in a straight line, they will always run in a circle, whether they want it or not. And one of my expectations was to not run into a circle and actually go somewhere and don't always make the same circle, which I sometimes feel that we do within youth work, because we have the same people talking about the same topics, finding the same challenges and sometimes the same solutions. And I really felt that this interaction with these different actors maybe broke this circle to a certain extent and bent it to another direction.
And as a follow-up, or following this participation in the short course, do you expect anything to happen, like as the continuity?
Well, I think it definitely started a process, or it was a continuation of a process. Maybe already started in the TALES training course where I participated in it, and it was like already one step further. I think it's a process that is ongoing, and I don't see it stopped very soon. It's a thinking process, it's a reflection process that has started, so I see it continuing. Well, there is the idea of this short course was to make a pilot project for after to continue with a full master. And well, I have lots of reflections whether I would be suitable material for that. It's definitely interesting. Whether I would be a good candidate for it, I think that's still under reflection. But I definitely want to continue also with a bit more youth research approach, but then practically implementable in the work, not a very theoretical.
Maybe the links between the two.
Yeah, for example. That would be very interesting.
Okay. And would you have any recommendations for the organizers? Something to improve?
Many of them, which is good now, because it's a pilot project, and then there are lots of things have been experimented with. So, out of the top of my hand, what would I want to improve? Well, part of the short course the short course was created mainly by people from the research fields, and very few, to my understanding, very few actual youth workers or youth facilitators, youth trainers were involved in that. And I think this was something that had an impact on, especially on the residential seminar, where I sometimes felt there was some need for people who know how to manage groups, how to help people express better what is behind the things that they're saying. So I think if I would give one recommendation, it's especially in the residential seminar, includes professional trainers or facilitators to help manage the process, and I think this could greatly contribute to the learning process of all the people that are present there. Okay. Thank you, Claudia. My colleague.